All right, welcome back to another SegWeather video looking at your forecast for Wednesday, July 29th of 2026. We're going to go ahead and dive in, starting off of just as a few minutes ago, looking at the radar, you can tell that we're mainly dry for much of the country except for a couple showers in the Rockies right now. Some of that in portions of the eastern plains to the deep south, and some showers ongoing across parts of northeast as well as this low pressure system is moving into this area, which is bringing some moisture and along with that, some rainfall occurring in that area. And some of that rainfall also tied here towards Florida as well. That's going to be the case as we head throughout the afternoon. Looking at the current watches and warnings, some good news for much of the Midwest. You can see the watches and warnings that were there the last couple of days are pretty much gone. Looking at the heat advisories, extreme heat warnings are now placed down to parts of the southern plains to the deep south. So looking at heat indices well over 100 for a lot of these areas, the orange indicating the heat advisories, and then the dark pinks indicating where we have the extreme heat warnings. And also for parts of the upper plains, you can see some of that as well for your day to day. And parts of the southwest, heat indices up to 120, if not more, in these areas. And then looking up towards the Pacific Northwest, another hazy day and smoky day of those ongoing wildfires taking place, hence why we do have these grays in place. That's where the air quality is going to be quite bad. And then a red flag warning in place for the southeastern parts of Idaho for the hot, dry conditions to lead to potentially more fires developing later on today. And then we do have a flood watch in place for the southeastern parts of Colorado for some rainfall to be possible. Could bring some flooding. And same thing for Northeast, some ongoing rainfall rate where we did see that on the map earlier. They're going to be having that as well as we progress throughout your day today. So watching that very closely for this afternoon. Now let's look towards the wildfire smoke forecast, starting off with the actual outlook. This is as of right now. You can see currently you have those ongoing fires taking place across the Pacific Northwest again. Anywhere we see an orange, that's where we have the ongoing fires, some yellows, oranges, and red circles indicating where the air quality is dropping, with a couple purple areas where the air quality is so bad that some of these people are having to go outside with masks on. And usually when we get air quality, especially in the purple range, that's when it indicates where it's pretty much unsafe to go outside. Red's kind of the same thing, but orange, yellows are kind of more of like just be cautious. So if you are in the Pacific Northwest this afternoon, that would be on high alert, especially if you are near some of these fires. I'd highly recommend evacuating potentially, as again, we do expect these fires to be ongoing in these areas. It could spread, especially with some of those upper level winds, that being winds higher up in the atmosphere pushing some of these fires off. And speaking of the smoke, we do expect the smoke to unfortunately spread across much of the upper plains to the Midwest as we head throughout the course of your day today, expecting the smoke to be quite great, especially across the Pacific Northwest. So this arrow indicating, again, it's going to be pretty much being pushed off due to the fact that we have the jet stream coming down, and the jet stream is winds higher up in the atmosphere that usually separate between cold and warmer air. And unfortunately, it'll be pushing down into the southern parts of the Midwest. So with that, with the smoke traveling from the Pacific Northwest, it's going to push a lot of this into the upper Midwest and then slowly going down towards parts of deep south too. So even places such as northern Florida around Tallahassee will be seeing some smoky skies today due to how strong this jet's going to be over the area by later on today. So if you're in Florida, I'll be watching out for those milky white skies, as that's going to be the case later on today. You can see again this evening's forecast, very smoky skies over the upper plains to the Midwest, and then some hazy skies from the lower Midwest and extending down to the deep south during your day today. Now, as we head to your temperature forecast for this afternoon and going into this evening, expecting a fairly hot day across much of the plains, 90s to 100s for much of these areas. Oklahoma sitting at 104, 102 for some places in the area, and then temperatures in the 90s to near 100 down the deep south. Quite a hot and humid day. The southwest also quite hot. Temperatures probably above 120 in some of these areas overall. But looking at the Pacific Northwest, also a bit warm, 80s to 90s for a lot of these areas, and then around the coast, temperatures a little cooler in the 70s, and same thing for the Rockies, a little bit cooler, and even for the Northeast, a bit cooler due to the rainfall ongoing. Temperatures largely in the upper 60s to 70s, as that rain will be sitting overhead during your day. Now, looking at the pattern as we head between about now and going to next Monday, we do expect the cooler air to remain in place for much of the Northeast as we'll be having the stalling low. As you see that little L that just developed just out towards moving in from Iowa into Ohio. That's just going to be bringing in some unsettled weather, meaning some rain chances for much of this region for starting from Friday and going into the weekend and even to early part of next week. And that does verify to be the case. That will mean, again, a lot of cooler air coming in. Temperatures likely in the 70s for this region in particular, maybe some 60s in the upper parts of New York and maybe even Michigan. Could see that be the case. Maybe even Maine as well. But overall, the heat ridge is going to remain down to the south, and with that, we do expect those hot temperatures to remain in place, especially for Arizona, Utah, Southern California, Texas. It's going to be hot for these areas, and maybe even the Southern Plains as well. But eventually, we do expect this ridge to slowly make its way back to the east by about Monday, August 3rd. So, watching that for next week. Now, looking at the severe threat, not as high as the last several days, looking at only a slight risk for parts of the upper plains. That's eastern Montana into northwestern parts of North Dakota, even into South Dakota as well, and then some of that around deep south, around Florida, looking at a slight risk for severe weather with a marginal risk surrounding that in that area. And same thing for the upper plains and parts of Idaho, seeing that being the case for your Wednesday. Now, looking at what to expect risk wise, trader risk doesn't look like it's going to be a problem at all today, so luckily that's out of the picture. Maybe, again, a brief spin up tornado, but again, looking less than 2%. Damaging wind risk looking to be a little bit higher, up to 50% risk, especially over the upper plains and parts of the deep south. Watching that for your Wednesday afternoon. And for your hail risk, only a small threat across the upper plains as we progress throughout your day today. And looking at the excessive rainfall outlook, especially with these ongoing storm chances, looking at a slight risk stretching from Nebraska down to Florida. So a small little strip as the cold front will be pushing in to these areas, and then the marginal risk, just slight risk out here in parts of the Rockies for some excessive rainfall. And then the upper Northeast, the bullseye for some possibly flooding rains to take place with moderate risk over extreme southern part of Vermont, extreme southeastern parts of New York, and the western part of Massachusetts, maybe even northwestern part of Connecticut. So watching that very closely. Some heavy rainfall likely for you guys could lead to some flooding in that area. Now, looking at your future cast, you do expect those shower and storm chances to be ongoing across the Rockies for your day today. Looking at the Northeast, you can see that low just stalling there, just sitting there, bringing some rainfall. This will eventually move out, but that second low that will come in will be the one that will stall for much of the Midwest. But for now, we've seen this low pressure system with the L indicating unsettled conditions. That's going to bring rain and some storms to this area throughout your day today. Meanwhile, that front pushes to the south. A lot of these areas in this zone will see those storm chances as well. And a closer look towards our severe weather areas. This is the deep south. Again, showers and storms will develop. Some strong storms possible later on today, this evening, and into Thursday morning. And upper plains seems acting, looking at some scattered showers to begin, and then some stronger storms developing later on this evening into late tonight and perhaps into very early Thursday morning. But that's it for this update. Thank you so much for tuning in to watch. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like. And if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to always get updated on whenever I drop a video. Have a great day and stay weather